Welcome back to the Financial Freedom Show. I'm Rob Berger. Today we're going to talk about Vanguard. As you may have heard, they've recently increased some of the account fees that they charge, or increased the amount of money you have to have with Vanguard to get those fees waived. I've received a ton of email from folks about this, so I'm going to walk through what the changes are, how you can avoid the fees, and then just generally what's going on with Vanguard, because they seem to be moving in the wrong direction in a lot of respects. And I want to cover that in this short video. So let's get right to it. Here is the page. And again, I'll link to everything I'm showing you below the video, but this is Vanguard's website. This is their current page that describes their account fees. And we need to walk through it here. And it's mainly this section at the top. And we need to understand here, there are two types of fees. One for brokerage accounts and one for mutual fund only accounts. And they're very different. We need to understand that. We'll walk through it. Keep in mind that this is for taxable accounts, what they call non-retirement accounts, as well as all the different IRAs you may have there. So pretty much the main types of accounts that most people will have at a brokerage like Vanguard. So let's start with the brokerage account. This is just your basic account where you can pretty much buy and sell anything, not only Vanguard products, but other companies, mutual funds and ETFs like Fidelity or Schwab, for example, or of course stocks and bonds. And they charge $20. This is per account. So imagine you have a taxable account, maybe you and your significant other each have an IRA, so you have 3 accounts, it'd be $20 each. Now you can waive that fee or get that fee waived if you have at least $1 million in qualifying assets. Now let's stop there for a moment. That's a change. We can actually go back and look at this page as it existed just a couple of months ago. And this is from what's called the Wayback Machine. And I'll leave a link to this, but this is what the page looked like, let's see, back here in May of 2022, so just a few months ago. You can see the limit was just $10,000. So they've increased the amount you have to have with Vanguard to waive that fee if that's how you want to waive it. And that's a significant increase from $10,000 to $1 million. So that's one thing that's got people understandably upset. Now, you can also waive it or avoid it if you, and this is where the language is here, if you sign up for e-delivery of statements like the annual privacy policy, confirmations, prospectuses, proxy materials, and so on. So you can sign up for e-delivery and you'll avoid the fee regardless of how much money you have at Vanguard. Now that's not changed. That the old fee structure had that as well. And there are some other not changes, but if you have like a trust account, for example, an organization account, you can avoid the fee, but that probably doesn't apply for most people. So the big change here is going from $10,000 to $1 million as a way to avoid the fee. That's change number one. The second change, I think more significant, is for this mutual fund only account. You say, well, what's that? Well, with a brokerage account, as I said, you can pretty much buy or sell anything. With a mutual fund only account, you can only purchase Vanguard mutual funds. That's it. It's a very limited account, and it's actually the kind of account I first had at Vanguard. I don't know when I opened it. It seems like a lifetime ago. And in fact, I can remember them pushing the brokerage account. I didn't really understand the difference, but I switched from a mutual fund only account to brokerage accounts years ago. And for me, there was really no difference. In some ways, the brokerage account is better, because I can pretty much buy or sell anything. I'm not limited to just Vanguard mutual funds. However, many folks are still on this mutual fund only account. And if you are, the fee is now $20. Notice this, it's not per account, it's per mutual fund. So if you own 5 Vanguard mutual funds in a mutual fund only account, it's $20 a year per fund. Now, that isn't different. What is different is how you can avoid the fee. And it's different in 2 ways. The first is, as with the brokerage account, they've increased what you need in qualifying assets to avoid the fee. It used to be $10,000. We can see this in this older version of the page. Here it is, up to $1 million. So that, in that sense, it's very similar to the brokerage account. You've got to have a lot more money to avoid it. And again, it's a little frustrating because one, it's hitting the fee for folks that can least afford it. That's number one. But also, it seems like most brokerages are going in the opposite direction. Everyone else seems to be reducing their fees, and Vanguard's either increasing them or at least making it harder to avoid them. The second reason or change to this fee is that over here, You used to be able to avoid the mutual fund only account fees by signing up for e-delivery, but they've changed it now. If you read the language here, it says if you are the primary account owner, you can eliminate the fee on brokerage accounts. See that right there? On brokerage accounts by signing up for e-delivery. If we go to the old version of this, it didn't have that limitation. They don't limit it here to just brokerage accounts. But with this change, they've not only increased the limit to $1 million in qualifying assets, but they've removed the possibility of avoiding the fee by signing up for e-delivery. Now, all of that raises a big question. What's going on? Why are they doing this? Well, the answer is they really want to get customers off of the mutual fund only system. They want to move everyone to a brokerage account. And part of the reason, the big reason, is costs, right? It costs money to maintain both of those systems. Now, I will say that they're not the only company to have a mutual fund only account. I know T. Rowe Price offers a mutual fund only account. So does Fidelity. I think probably most people don't take advantage of it. But Vanguard's not the only one that's operating multiple systems. But Vanguard is, as far as I know, the only one changing their fee structure to try to push everyone off of the mutual fund only system. I think for most people, the brokerage account is perfectly fine. Like I said, it's what I use. So I think for most folks, it shouldn't be an issue. But there are a couple of potential exceptions that I'll mention in a minute. But one of them is that for folks that work in the financial industry, I think from a reporting perspective, what they had to disclose to their employer was very different if they opened up a mutual fund only account. And so they really didn't want to get pushed out of that account. Maybe they'll stay and pay the fee. I guess it's up to the individual. But that I know is one of the issues. There are a couple of other issues that could affect you in this process, and I'll just mention them briefly. The first I learned of through the Boglehead forum, and I'll link to this. But one of the users, and it was right here, what he was basically saying is, look, what I do in the mutual fund only account is I take dividends from one mutual fund, and I'm able to set it up so that they automatically get reinvested into a different Vanguard mutual fund. In the brokerage account, it's a manual process. Yeah. Now, is that the end of the world? No. I don't even think they would say it's the end of the world, but it is an inconvenience that they'd rather not have to deal with. But now they've got a choice to either pay the fee or move over to the brokerage account and just do it manually. Again, probably won't affect most people. The other thing that I found interesting, this is a Barron's article that a viewer sent me, and I'll link to it as well. Some of the comments down here are interesting, but one of the ones that sort of rang true to me was this one right here, where they said, I've been unable to switch the account. They want to switch now from mutual fund only to brokerage. I keep getting a message, try again later, going on for 2 weeks and no help from Vanguard. And they were really frustrated. And I think it underscores sort of a bigger issue at Vanguard. At the end of the day, I think for the vast majority of us, we can either avoid the fees and that's certainly true with a brokerage account, if for no other reason, just accepting e-delivery service statements, or if it's a mutual fund only account by simply converting it to a brokerage account. I think for the vast majority of people, probably not a big deal. I think the bigger issue is just what in the world is going on at Vanguard. They seem to have technological issues. They've had issues with customer support, at least based on my own personal experience and just from a lot of feedback from a lot of people. This is not some isolated incident. Look, with large companies, there's always going to be a time where you maybe have a bad experience, whatever. The customer support person has a bad day. We've all been there before. But this is getting reported enough that it's a more systemic issue, at least from my perspective. And then on top of that, to have either fees going up or making it more difficult to avoid the fees. I was looking at a comparison, and I'll show it to you. This is from the Fidelity website, so they're obviously, maybe perhaps showing this in a way that favors Fidelity. But at the end of the day, numbers are numbers. And Fidelity, if you open up an IRA, there's no account fee. There's no need to figure out how to get it waived. It's just zero. And it turns out the same was with Schwab. And frankly, boy, I think it's the same with most brokers at this point. The account fees, I always kind of thought they were a thing of the past. And here Vanguard is sort of still hanging on to them, and now it turns out making them even harder to avoid. And it just raises the bigger question. And I think part of it is this, and this is sort of the consensus, I think, from what I've read. Again, I don't have any inside information at Vanguard at all, and I've not reached out to Vanguard about this video or my views on it. But, you know, they have been for a long time a low-cost leader. I think that has changed now, right? Because you can get index funds as cheap or even cheaper than what Vanguard offers, and you can certainly get account fees cheaper than what Vanguard offers. So I think they were a low-cost leader for a long time. I'm not sure that's the case anymore, but I wonder if they're sort of a victim of their own success, where because of these low costs, they haven't had the capital to reinvest in systems and technology and so forth that maybe, for example, a Fidelity has. So it's come to the point now where if someone asks me what kind of funds to invest in, boy, Vanguard is absolutely high on my list. I own a number of Vanguard funds. I love them. Nothing's changed there at all. But if they ask me where should I keep my accounts, certainly I think Vanguard, I would still argue, is a reasonable option. But if someone asked me, is it the best of the best? No, probably not. If I had to say, for example, pick between Fidelity and Vanguard, I would pick Fidelity. I think their technology is better, their website's better, customer service is better, their sort of iPhone and iPad apps, mobile apps are better. I think their cash management features are better. And so in that sense, I think for me, where I might keep my money, if I were just picking between those two, there are of course other options. It would be Fidelity. And in the robo-advisor space, again, my first choice wouldn't be Vanguard there either, even though they are probably the lowest cost solution at around 15 basis points roughly. But for me, I think the better service, the better website and mobile experience, and the better features, I think Betterment wins out. And so again, I love Vanguard. I'm a huge Boglehead and fan of the late Jack Bogle. I have invested in Vanguard funds for decades, and I plan to continue to do that. And I really hope for the best for Vanguard. I do think, though, they have their work cut out for them. They're sort of working uphill right now, and they certainly have, from what I can tell and what I've experienced, some challenges. I do hope, and I'm rooting for them, and I hope they overcome them, but I do think they have a way to go. And I think this latest change in their fee structure is just kind of, an example of that. So there you go. That's my take on the fees, what's going on, why. If you have any comments, please leave them below the video. And if you have any questions, let me know. I'll do my best to help you out any way I can. And if you have experiences with Vanguard, feel free to share them in the comments. I would just ask, let's be kind, let's be nice, no matter how frustrated we are. But it would be nice to get some sort of objective feedback on what folks are seeing there, so that we can evaluate what's best for each of us as it relates to Vanguard. So there you go. Hope you have a great day. Until next time, remember, the best thing money can buy is financial freedom.